ready? It's the Roundtable with me, Robert Bannon. Hey everybody, I'm so excited. I have binge watched this new series that is on E! You can watch it right now. It's on demand, or go to NBC.com. Listen, we've all grown up with Judge Mathis, right? We've all watched him lay down the law, literally. Well, his family, what an entertaining, fun family. I watched all 8 episodes this week. You have to check it out. It's on E! It's on demand. And we have the breakout. I mean, no offense to the other siblings, but Greg Mathis Jr. and Elliot Cooper are here. Wait till you see them on the show. I want you to see the family so you can be ready. Make sure you watch it. We've been debuting shows all summer long that we've been obsessed with and we've loved watching. I've loved it. I've loved this family. Ladies and gentlemen, Greg and Elliot are here. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for that introduction. All right.
No, please. I love seeing the representation that you both bring. I love seeing your family. I love seeing the interaction amongst you all. And I checked out the first episode, and then before you knew it, I was 4 or 5 episodes in.
That's a good thing. That's good. That's good.
Well, before we start talking about the show, can we talk a little bit about each of you individually? Because you both bring big, giant careers, education. You're way smarter than I am. Elliot, let me start with you. You went to Clemson, if I'm right.
Yes.
And you're an engineer, so I'm going to send you any math or finance or budget. You're in charge.
You know, the numbers I do have together, right? Yeah. I graduated from Clemson way back when, I'll say it that way. No, but 2006, and been working in engineering in that industry for since graduation, probably the last 15, 16 years now.
That's amazing. And you're from South Carolina?
Yeah, originally from Charleston, South Carolina.
Greg, you found like a good Southern charmer. Like what?
Yeah. And you can tell I'm the exact opposite because I went into politics and I love to talk a lot.
Yes. Very true. Very true.
And Greg, you're a political science major.
I am, and I worked for 8 years in DC. I think I did a variety of jobs. I was most recently a senior policy advisor for Senator Mark Warner in the U.S. Senate. So pretty high stakes job, but I really enjoyed it, and I was passionate, and I'm still passionate about advocacy today.
Absolutely, and you literally, everyone watching, if you don't know a little bit, I try to do my research the best I can. You started literally as an intern, worked your way all the way up to a senior advisor. I'm a poli-sci major as well. And I was a little Democratic committee man knocking on doors and hanging. It's a hustle, but it really does that's how you make change. It's all politics is local, really. Well, and then how you both meet on a Valentine's Day and the rest is history? Like what happened?
The rest is history. It was a lot has happened in these 6 years since then. We met on Valentine's Day. It was funny because it was actually a group of friends and everybody was single at the time. And Elliot and I, our mutual best friend kind of invited both of us. And what happened?
Your Siri was talking to you.
Oh, she's listening to us. She's listening. You know when your Siri randomly pops up on the screen? And so, a mutual best friend kind of organized a group of single people to go out. And Elliot and I had known of each other, but never really met before. And we just hit it off that night. And it ended up being a situation where we went to a couple of different bars. And then we ended up going back to my place with the entire group. And then everybody trickled out and Elliot stayed. And we just have we've had our ups and downs, but 6 years later, we're here and still surviving, thriving.
You haven't brought in Trevor Noah yet for your throuple.
To Elliot's disappointment.
I really have enjoyed watching the show because for every single personality, there's a family that grows up in that kind of environment of having, Greg having a father that's been on television for decades and fulfilling a certain role. He's a judge. He has a very accomplished history and an inspiring story about, Detroit and turning his life around and becoming what he has become. So when you start dating, before we talk about you guys in relationship and how inspiring I found your story and your honesty to be in the show, at what point do you bring up that my father is Judge Greg Mathis?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think. It's always awkward. I feel like I never do. I hate to compare it to this, but it's almost like coming out. It's like a light version of coming out. It's like, oh God, do I just lead with it and tell people? Because then but then it's like the nervousness of, oh, they're gonna think I'm bragging about it. Or they're gonna think I'm trying to. And so like I don't think I ever really bring it up, to be honest.
Yeah, he didn't when we were dating. Like it wasn't even. It was kind of a known thing, but not like something that was talked about. Like so. I'll admit that is true. He never really like just like, well, my dad would say, or like, you know, my dad being Judge Mathis is this. Like he never kind of took that approach at all in our relationship.
I think that you built your own. You both have built your own, really, and all of your siblings have really built their own kind of lives and have taken their own lives in their hands. Elliot, so when you get pitched this idea, or this idea gets sold, you make a pilot, however this starts. Elliot, what was your thoughts about moving to LA with Greg's parents, and not only moving to LA with Greg's parents, but then having a camera crew follow you around while this all happened?
Yeah, see how hard that was for you to get out just with that? Like it was so much for me to comprehend even at once. So I'm a spontaneous person where I do love new places, right? Like that's just being able to enjoy the city and learn more about it and whatever, because I've never lived in LA. So it was a little bit of the anxiety that came with that. But like honestly, what helped me feel a lot more comfortable with moving here or even being around Greg's family, because I was around them a lot prior to like doing the show, is that I was like, oh wow, I'll be closer to another side of family where they are in their own way, like so collectively connected. Like there's not a time where he will not be on the phone with one of his siblings or his dad or his mom throughout the day. And to be honest, that gives you a sense of comfort, right? So yes, when he said like, hey, we're gonna do this sizzle for this show, I was like, whoa, wait, like, okay. Nobody else really in my family kind of knows about us. You know, I kind of told my dad and like immediate family and friends in that sense, but not like the world. So when I thought about that, I was just like, woof, like, let's just take this step by step, especially when the camera started taping. So you saw literally the throughput of us trying to process, you know, going through this and how we really wanted to roll it out, and going into like how, you know, we shouldn't take it so seriously about us and think about how we feel uncomfortable now and how it can benefit others, you know, kind of giving them the resources on how to be more comfortable with things out there.
Well, that is what I wrote to Greg in the last email. You know, I came out late in life, and I know the feeling of like not wanting to be like the gay, you know, I'm the poster child for this, you know, the queer lifestyle, but yeah. It's a part of my life, and you guys are a beautiful couple with a beautiful relationship. When I first was with my partner, we're 3 years plus, it was the first relationship he had publicly, and I kind of saw that through that process. And in the beginning, it was hard because it was kind of a secret. It was a secret. We were not online. We were in social media posting about it, and everyone else is, you know, happy birthday, happy Valentine's Day, and we're in the secret of it all. That first episode, your relationship is really what really brought me in before I met the rest of the family. That conversation you had, Greg, outside of your dad's house, where he asked you, if someone asks you who you are, what you are, about your sexuality, that conversation was so real, because I have so many friends and I've had that conversation with my own family. So what was the conversation like between the two of you to have this become a public part of your persona?
I mean, there was a series of conversations, and like Elliot said, it really did spill over into the actual taping of the show as well. I mean, there was a real moment that you probably saw on camera where we were still trying to figure out, okay, where do you fall in this? Like, is it going to be a situation where I come out publicly and Elliot kind of just doesn't say anything and he just stays in the background as a friend of the family or whatever the case might be? And so, I mean, that was a very real moment of like, do you want to continue doing this, or do you want to continue being outspoken? As you talked about, I mean, it's one thing to maybe even be out publicly as a gay man, but it's another thing to be out publicly in the public spotlight, in the public eye, on camera, on television. You know, it's a big spectrum of lifestyles that you could choose. And I'll say, even before we started filming the show, we had conversations with each other about like, okay, do we want to even address this on the show? Do you want to be on the show? How we're going to move forward. And ultimately we settled on, it made the most sense for us to really try and use this as an opportunity to show our lives together and show us working through that process and kind of how we're still processing everything. And it's funny because I actually had a friend that told us, he was like, you all don't have to tell anybody anything. You should, before we started filming, he was like, you should just live your life and not talk about it. And Elliot can be on the show too, and he can be your friend, and people can just assume what they want to assume. And I mean, for us, yeah, maybe that could have been possible. I find that hard to really fathom, but I think that it made, to your point, such a difference in people's lives to really see us live and be our authentic true selves. And I hope that it's inspiring people to be more comfortable in their everyday lives as well.
I sure think so. I mean, I can't imagine it now. Your parents, I mean, I don't, Elliot, you spoke a little bit about having conversations with your family. We see Greg talk to his parents, Greg and Linda, and have the conversation kind of about the situation. And what I found so fascinating about that scene was that you weren't talking about your parents. I think the stigma is a lot that your families are not going to accept you. That was not the issue with your parents. Society, and so I'm from New York, New Jersey. You're now in LA. We get confused that everywhere is like this. There's a whole country that does not see things as these post-elitist snobs that we are see things. So what was that pressure that you had? And your father, it shows on the show, his support for the LGBT community. What was that pressure that you felt as his son to be a public figure? You worried about you and your safety, Elliot's safety, and your family.
I mean, it's tough because you're putting a target on your back. And I mean, it really feels like even now, I'm grateful that both of us are really comfortable with who we are and our authentic selves, but at the same time, we still get that pressure from all directions. There's people who are still asking us like, why are you making such a big deal about it? Like nobody cares. But then some of those same people are like, but I think the other brother, my brother Amir, is gay. And I'm like, well, nobody cares because my brother is not gay at all. Why are you all obsessed with sexuality? Like the pressure of, I've had people ask me multiple times, like, oh, were you, touched as a child? Is that why you're gay? Like, did something happen with your parents? Just, horrible things that are the furthest thing from the truth. And, so that's difficult. And that's some of the things that we feared even before going public. But I will say that 95% of the response we've gotten has been overwhelmingly positive, and that is amazing to feel and to hear and to see. And that 5% that still has those bigoted views, I feel like we're doing our part to hopefully shift that narrative and shift those mindsets somewhat by just living our lives the best way we know how.
Absolutely. I mean, you're doing that is the work. It's changing that visual and that representation that you guys are showing, and a beautiful family that supports you is so powerful to so many people. Elliot, I'd be remiss to say, if being an engineer does not work out, you have quite the deadpan to the camera. Like I'm ready for you. Your looks speak a million words in this show. You are quite the comedic little interjection within the family unit. How a lot of people when it's a reality show ask, is it staged? Is it faked? What can you just clear the air and say those looks are 100% authentic in the moment?
I probably did some here and didn't even know, but yes, when I say the looks are, if you haven't noticed, even with Greg being the poli-sci person or his dad and everybody being a lawyer, they talk a lot. So there's not much I can really get in to say to them. So you'll see my facial expressions that everybody in that split time knows what I wanted to say and what I felt, and they probably feel the same way. That's definitely me. Like, there's no hiding that. And Greg always catches me like, why are you making that face? And I'm like, well, you know exactly why I'm making that face.
It really cracked me up. There's 3 other siblings, Greg, that you have that are on the show. 2 sisters and then the baby, a younger brother. And they're all in different stages of their life, either with children, or married, or single, new relationships, and all of that. Growing up, is this, and Elliot, you can speak to this too. What we see on the show, is that how you guys are? You're a very close-knit family. As you spoke a little bit, you guys are pretty, even if you lived across the country, how would you guys stay in touch with each other while one's in Detroit or in DC or in DC? How did you all stay close and connected?
Yeah. I mean, the one thing we always do religiously is our family trip. We do a yearly family trip, usually around Christmas time, and we go to some fun location. That's always like a retreat for us where we bond, we just have fun, we catch up. Even throughout the year, though, we always traveled a lot, whether it's like birthdays, special holidays throughout the year. I would say even with me living on the coast, my sister Jade lived in DC also with me while my family was in LA. I mean, we probably get together as an entire family at least 4 times a year, which, I mean, that's a lot when you think about, it's almost every other month at the very least. And then, I mean, technology is amazing. So the phone, of course.
Yes, I was about to say the key part, Robert, is that they will talk to each other at least 5 times a day. Like, I can tell you, right, how many times have you talked to people in your family today?
Like different people, or how many
Just
times?
throw how many? You see, it's not even one. Like, he probably is like 2, 3, and it's only noon, like, or 3 o'clock. You know what I mean? So,
and then we have a group chat too.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That's like what we, I have one brother, and if I talk to him 3 times by noon, I'm gonna be like, oh, all right, Sean, let's. One of the most powerful scenes in the show, to go back a moment, is this scene. You talk to one of your good friends that we all know, talk about reality television, famous father, and all of that. You talk to EJ, and what brought that conversation on? And I mean, we watched it. We could watch it. You could watch the conversation, but did that conversation for the both of you and coming publicly, was that a cathartic moment that you got someone who has a very famous father figure? Your dad and Magic Johnson are quite stereotypically masculine guys with families and kids. So what brought you that conversation, and how did that turn out? What did that make you feel at the end?
EJ and I have been really close for a number of years. And one thing I've always admired about EJ is that EJ doesn't care what anybody thinks, has not cared what anybody thinks for a long time. Like, the confidence is just a million. And for me, that's just not my personality. And so it took a lot of both internal coaching for me to I was comfortable to really just step out and say, this is who I am. And also, I just knew that talking with EJ was going to put me on that road of like, this is one of the most confident people in the world that I know, and has been confident about his sexual orientation, like who EJ is for a very long time. And so it made me so much more comfortable just to hear EJ's perspective, talk to EJ about his dad and what they went through, and kind of the spotlight when it was on him. And so I just couldn't think of anybody else I would want to talk to that could really relate in the same way of having a famous father, but also know me because we're so close, and kind of, how this would impact me. And so it really felt good. And you know how TV is, unfortunately, the cameras couldn't capture that entire conversation. They got to squish everything down into the 30 minutes that they can fit on television. Yeah. But I really feel good coming out of that conversation. And I think it put me on a path to just being super confident and authentic about who I am. EJ is have you ever seen him if you see EJ in person, he's like 100 feet tall.
He's like my height, and then whatever he may wear that day, he's taller than me. But the thing is, his personality, it doesn't matter how tall he is, his personality is just as big. And that's what we love about him. Every time we see him, he's still the same EJ regardless. And that's what I love about him.
I love it. You leave us with the end. I mean, I'm not trying to spoiler alert because I want people to watch it, but I mean, I have a screenshot.
Elliot popped the question. That's not a spoiler. That was in the trailer, right?
He pops a question. How dare you, production, producers, television? How dare you, all of you? I loved it. I loved every second of it. It was great. You have to watch all 8 all the episodes to see what there's a question.
Just know it was all Elliot's idea. He's so proud that it was his idea, so I'm gonna let him claim it to you too. Elliot was like, I came up with that idea. You had nothing to do with it, Greg.
Well, I loved it. So my question to you, both of you, are: he pops the question. You're a season of the show down. It's recorded. It's filmed. It's out in the world. What is the goals for you guys as individuals besides you as a couple? Like, is entertainment is where it's at? Is politics and engineering still what is moving to you all? Is it a little bit of everything? What's the next chapter?
Well, I'll go first because I know you got a lot, Greg. So, I mean, I'm still doing my normal job as far as engineering goes because I want to make sure, just as a balance of life. And then I think I have as far as in both of us, I'll say as far as advocacy goes, especially in the LGBTQ community, and making that stride. I'm making the strides as best I can, and in my comfortable, I guess, steps. And then also just in other areas that I haven't thought about. Being an engineer, we usually are in a box, or we think is very narrow-minded in things. So coming into this and into the show has kind of broadened where I didn't know areas I could reach. So I'm definitely looking at in the entertainment industry or just in some type of branding where I can actually help or be, more of an advocate.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, it's like the one reason I got into politics is because I was passionate about helping people and just inspiring people. One of the many things I love about entertainment is that you really have an opportunity to do some of that same work through telling stories. And so what I've really been focused on now is using entertainment as an opportunity to tell stories about, our community, but also a number of other things that I think could have a really big impact. My younger brother, Amir, is the executive producer of Mathis Family Matters. This was his baby. And so he has his production company, and my dad has one as well. And I've been working on a couple projects with them that, we hope to shed more light on in the future. But I would say all the above. I'm definitely not abandoning politics because I think it's so important to advocate for what you feel passionately about and to really use our platform to do good in the world. And so I think you'll see us doing a lot of that, both in the political space, but also entertainment as well.
Elliot, I love your style because listen, I kept my day job too. During the day, I'm a 5th grade history teacher in New Jersey.
Oh, really? My mom was a teacher.
Yeah, mom was too.
I am. They keep me grounded. And they keep me, and the check comes on the 15th and the 30th. So I feel you. Yeah, education had a lot of, and what the show makes me I teach in North Bergen, New Jersey, which is a first generation Americans. Everyone's from Central and South America. And I've had a lot of students as an out educator come to me and come out and at 13, 14, 15 years old and have issues with their family who doesn't due to religion or where they're from or how they feel as a family, ask me for help. And it's so hard when you're 13 years old, you don't have a group, a life to really help you. Then I see examples of families and people and relationships that break stereotypes and break the discrimination and what people are saying it looks like the two of you and your family, Greg. And it's so powerful because it's something that I can tangibly say, there is good examples out there. There are people that are happy. There are families that accept you. You will create your own community. And that's what is so moving. So I want to say thank you for exposing and sharing your lives, but being an example that we can now look to. It is a real powerful thing.
Thank you. And I mean, thank you as well. You're definitely doing God's work. Because what I have always believed and said now is like, with people who are, let's just call it what it is, people who are under discrimination and facing bigotry, it's like you have to create those safe spaces. And so like you are definitely creating that safe space for all those students to come to you, and you create as many safe spaces as you can until ideally the entire world becomes a safe space and there's nowhere else for the bigots to hide.
I agreed. Well, we'll be following. Well, I'm ready. I'm going to keep telling people to watch it. We're going to get season 2. Come on. Follow. Keep up with Greg and Elliot on Instagram. I misspelled Greg's name, but it's Greg Mathis Jr. As you can see, it's not Grag. That's why I'm not an English teacher. I don't. And you can follow Elliot as well. And happy National Dog Day. There's your follow the pups as well. They have their own Instagram as well. And everybody, you can still catch Mathis Family Matters on NBC.com or on demand right now. You can watch the whole family. My partner is in LA. We bounce back and forth every month. So I don't know. I'm going to have to drinks at the Abbey or something fun.
Let us know, please.
Yes, definitely.
And you guys are both a pleasure, and it's really nice to talk to you. I wish you all the best. I can't wait to see what's
Thank
next.
you
Thanks
so
for
much.
having us. I appreciate it.
Well, there you have it. Aren't they great? They're really great. The family is super fun. Everybody, make sure you check out Mathis Family Matters. It's on E! You can watch it on NBC.com or on demand, like I said, and represent and show love. Listen, if you're an ally of a community, race, religion, sexual orientation, gender, whatever, we all need to love and support one another. That's the only way we're going to make it through this world, is we have to be heard, seen, and loved. So the best is yet to come, and you can join me every single week right here on the Roundtable, either the talks or the live show. Great to see you all here tonight, and I'll talk to you real soon. For more information about me, go to robertbannon.com. See you all next time. Good night.